Hey everybody, this is Ryan Deal with 605 Sports. We are here with Delaney Peterson, special guest joining us. We did a story about Delaney in February. And Delaney, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you're from and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So like he said, my name's Delaney Peterson. I'm born and raised in Chamberlain, South Dakota, so right on the Missouri River. I am currently a senior at Oklahoma State University. I'm set to graduate here in December. I major in sports management and sports marketing with goals to enter in the sports agency representation world. Super cutthroat, very difficult to break into. So we will see how that goes. But overall, I've had great experiences learning and working my way into that industry.
Yeah. What persuaded you to want to go into the sports agency world, I guess?
So in the sports industry, sports business, there's a lot of different outlets that people can work in that's not based around the actual athlete. So there's ticketing, there's marketing, there's all sorts of different aspects to it. And I'm a big people person. I love being around people. I love talking to people. So I kind of knew pretty early on with some experiences that I had in Stillwater that I wanted to work in a representation field for athletes. So I've been working kind of with a brand squad, and I'll touch on that here in a little bit. That's given me professional experience pretty early on in my college career that I was able to work with student athletes at Oklahoma State University. And kind of from there, I was like, okay, I love this. I want to continue doing this post grad. So yeah.
Awesome. Brand Squad, you mentioned that. We kind of talked about that the last time we had talked. Why don't you explain to people out there what is the Brand Squad at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, so the Brand Squad is a student-led organization full of the top business students in the Spears School of Business at OSU. We work with student athletes on monetizing their personal brand and their NIL. So me personally, I've been in that since my freshman year. So I'll have about 3.5 years once I graduate of experience with them. It's been great. It allows us as business students to kind of learn and develop our own skills while also the student athletes, while they are starting to kind of build up their personal brand. When the Brand Squad started, it was right after NIL passed with the NCAA. So it was just there were no laws. There was just kind of everybody had a free for all. So this allowed for us to, as students, to learn and develop, like I said, while also giving student athletes an opportunity to work towards monetization.
Yeah, NIL. There might be some viewers out there that aren't necessarily familiar with NIL. It's obviously still new, kind of in the grand scheme of things. Why don't you maybe explain what NIL is to maybe some people that aren't familiar with that and everything?
Yeah, so NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. A really good example is as an athlete, any kind of athlete, professional, high school, collegiate athlete, mainly professional, you see athletes in commercials. One that comes to mind is Patrick Mahomes in a State Farm commercial. So for years, college athletes could not work with companies, work with brands, promote products or services. Now, up until about 3 years ago, they can. So that's why you're seeing a bunch of collegiate athletes, with big, huge followings on social media. They're reviewing products that brands send them, stuff like that. So now they are able to make money outside of their athletic abilities.
From your point of view, the NIL obviously it's changed college athletics. From your kind of vantage point, is the NIL a good thing or a bad thing, I guess?
I think right off the bat, NIL, because it was a free-for-all, there were no guidelines. It was not ready. People knew it was going to happen, but there was no really preparation for it. It was just you woke up on a Tuesday morning and bam, the NCAA said you could start making money as a college athlete. So I think back then there like I said, there's no rules or regulations. Now there is. So now I think that there's more of an understanding of what you can and can't do. It's really good. Personally, I know somebody who's a wrestler at Oklahoma State. He was able to be a part of the wrestling team, not as a full scholarship, about like half scholarship. But he was able to use NIL to pay for the rest of his college education. So there's aspects like that that are really, really beneficial from, or because NIL can be really beneficial in aspects like that. Other things like about 3 years ago when people just threw their hands up and said, do whatever you want. And there's all these laws in Supreme Court, going through Supreme Court, district courts, state law, stuff like that. That's kind of cracking down on certain things. But now I think it's been really beneficial for student athletes.
Yep, absolutely. Alrighty, so why don't you maybe tell viewers kind of what you got going on this summer with your NIL Summit. I know you got one planned in Chamberlain. Why don't you kind of walk people through what your goal is with your NIL Summits this summer and everything, I guess.
Yeah, so kind of without giving away too much, my biggest goal, or the reason I'm doing this, is because my old high school is sending a lot of kids to different state schools and private schools here in South Dakota on collegiate athletic scholarships, or they're going to play in college for all these various sports that they are. So I think it's really important going in to a collegiate athletic space to know your options. I think a lot of people think that you have to be a Division I football player, you have to win a national championship to even think about using NIL for a personal brand. That's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of things that you can do on a smaller scale where you can still be successful. So I'm going to kind of walk through certain things that you can do with that. I know there's some people going to USD, there's people going to Black Hills State, DWU, stuff like that. A lot smaller schools, but they still have big community support. And brands and companies that may want to work with student athletes at those schools. So we'll kind of cover social media, personal branding, reaching out to companies, how you want your image to look with that company, kind of a brief overview of contracts, and how you have to file taxes if you receive money as through an NIL deal, you have to file taxes with that. So I'll kind of go over those couple things briefly, but the biggest thing I want to kind of stretch to these student athletes is that it is not as difficult as people make it seem to get involved.
Yeah. And that one in Chamberlain, what is the date for that one?
It is July 12th at 7 p.m. I believe that's a Friday.
And then your goal, other towns, I know some of that stuff you're still trying to iron out some details and everything, but your goal is other towns throughout South Dakota, I guess.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm really interested in going to other towns across the state. I know people who may want to come to something like this, but traveling wise, it's not ideal. So if there are people in your community or students or anyone who's currently in high school or they're in college and they don't have a lot of NIL education, let me know. We can set something up for your community. I would love to do that. So yeah, just let me know. Down the road, I think depending on how successful this event or multiple events are, I'll offer some kind of NIL consulting. Um, just to kind of, if someone wants a little help getting started or if they're stuck on a process or whatever, then I can be there to kind of assist and guide them through that. So that's not a current thing that's happening that I'm working on. It's just an idea just to kind of see how everything else goes with these summits and so on.
Absolutely. All righty, Delaney, this was fun catching up. I guess any more thoughts or comments or any more information you like to tell people about with your NIL summits or anything else, I guess?
I don't think so. I think I covered everything I wanted to, so without giving too much info away.
Absolutely. All righty, Delaney, this was fun, and we'll kind of spread the word about your NIL summits on 605 Sports and whatnot, and we'll see you down the road and everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much.